The Dr. Terri Show is presented by Avexius Health Solutions. Avexius Health Solutions is an emerging leader in the integrative medicine on a mission to positively impact people's lives through the transformation of healthcare. Avexius educates and trains practitioners on the new, innovative, integrative therapies that support a preventative care model that drives vitality as you age. You can learn more about Avexius Health Solutions and many of the healthcare topics we discuss on the Dr. Terri Show at Avexius.com. That's EVEXIAS.com, as well as find a provider near you. Now here's today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dr. Terri Show. I am in the studio today with Elizabeth DiMeo, functional dietitian, and we're having an awesome conversation about something that's really probably gonna plague a lot of us this season, and how to not gain 10 pounds this holiday season, right? So we've got some good practical, 5 in fact, tips and tricks to kind of just help us navigate all of these extra parties and family gatherings and extra indulgence that we all love during the holiday season, but really don't love so much after January 2nd. So come on and join the conversation. Back, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Ms. Terri.
I like having you here because it's fun and we talk about some of my favorite things. But one of the things this time of year that people are already starting to get anxious about is the holidays. And not only because we're going to be around family. You know, it's so funny when we say, we treat you like family. Every time I hear somebody say that, I think that might not be a good thing for a lot of people.
Right. Oh, no.
There's some triggers there. But not only, you know, maybe being around family or hosting a lot of family or whatever, but the dreaded, 10-pound weight gain that tends to happen between October 31st and January 2nd, right? So I think it'd be good and helpful for, people to get some tips and tricks on maybe ways we could kind of mitigate some of that, but still have a good time and not feel like we're missing out, not having FOMO, with some of the fun things around the holidays. So, I was thinking about how at Thanksgiving, for instance, there's all these traditional things that we, have at the table, or even just all the parties. Let's talk about how we
Christmas parties
and all of that.
Yeah.
So, with your background as a functional dietitian, I think you've got a lot of probably tricks up your sleeve to, things that we could do to not feel so yucky and inflamed and swollen and retaining water. And, because a lot of that 10-pound weight gain over the holidays is water retention.
It is.
Yeah.
And largely because you're eating a lot, you're eating a lot of food that other people are making, you don't know what ingredients they're putting in it. So I would start off with the first thing that I really think about is oftentimes people will go all day without eating just to wait until they eat the meal.
Yeah.
And then 2 things happen with that. One, they're hungry, so they'll immediately start going for the appetizers and they'll fill up on those. And then, they're having their cocktails, then they sit down, and then they're having their full-on Thanksgiving dinner, which I just do not get.
Or Christmas dinner, or Christmas party meal, or whatever
Christmas
it is.
party meal. So don't wait all day to eat. I know a lot of people are doing intermittent fasting, but that's not the day to do it. Or if it is, you can intermittent fast maybe after finish after 12 hours so that you have a reasonable breakfast/lunch, and then you can move into Thanksgiving meal if it's being served between 4 and 7. Everybody does it differently.
Yeah, that's good.
That's number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2, I suggest people sweat and work out so that they can, have some kind of output to get the input.
Exercise is part of this conversation?
Yes. Do a little exercise.
Boring. I love exercising,
even if it's just some strength training. I do a little routine on my floor. I have a ball. I have weights. Just a little something, even if it's going for a walk.
Yeah.
Number 3, I'm really big on this one. If you're going to have dessert and you're going to drink alcohol, make a choice. But if you want both, because we don't want to feel like we're being restricted during the holidays. Because often people, when they're the holidays, they say, oh, we'll wait till January and then we'll go on a diet. It never works.
Let's be gluttonous for 2 months.
Right. And what's the point of that? Yeah. So make a choice. Have a few drinks, or instead of maybe having the sugary cocktails or the sweet cocktails, maybe just have some Prosecco or some champagne or a glass of white wine, and then maybe having a little red wine with dinner so you could have a small amount of dessert. Yeah. But to have the pecan pie with the pumpkin pie with the whipped cream and whatever else, the cookies.
I come
from an Italian family, the Irish. There's so many sweets.
So good.
Who needs them?
Yeah.
You don't. I'm not a sweet eater. I prefer the savory.
Yeah, same.
The other thing that I would say, which I think is a really good trick, is to offer to bring something, and then when you bring something that would more than likely appeal to most people. So shrimp cocktail is a big one. It's relatively innocuous, right?
But please not the kind that's already prepared at the grocery store.
Make your own with medium-sized shrimp. You can make your own fabulous cocktail sauce. It's really easy.
Why I don't
fresh
really
horseradish
at parties.
Yeah, you definitely want to bring something that you know that you can eat maybe a fair amount of, 5 or 6 shrimp cocktail that don't really put on the calories.
Right.
Or if you want to make some kind of a savory thing, you could do, say, bruschetta with a vegetable and a little bit of mozzarella on it, but something that...
You're so Italian.
I'm so Italian, I know, right? Or bruschetta, it depends on who you talk to. But I'd say you could control the situation because you just don't know what people are going to bring. But if there's going to be snack foods like chips and pretzels, or the cheese platter is a big one.
Cheese platter.
I would just like to make a point here for those folks that don't know what a serving size of cheese is.
Hey, I just came from France.
I know.
And, well, I didn't just, but over the summer. And I mean, a board this big would come out of cheeses, before dessert, which I want to talk about that too. We got to break down all these things that you talked about. But I ate so much cheese in France, and I loved it.
I love cheese. 2 dice is a serving size.
2 what?
2 dice.
No. Forget that. I'm not going to take that advice.
2 dice. That's a serving size of cheese. So if you're with your cocktail standing by the cheese board chatting with your cousin that you haven't seen in 20 years, and you're not really having fun with the conversation, you're going to sit there and just eat the cheese board.
That's true.
And that cheese is, high in calories and it's high in fat. Now, look, I'm all for cheese. I would actually prefer to have cheese at the end of the meal than to have dessert like the French. But that I think is tough. So you have to think in your mind, what am I going to rob Peter to pay Paul with? Am I going to have cheese? Am I going to eat the fun appetizers? Am I going to have the cocktails? Or am I going to have dessert?
All right, let's break all these down really slowly.
Okay.
So the first thing is, don't starve yourself before a party or a dinner party. And that's so true, because by the time you get there, you're so hungry. The majority of things that are sitting out for people to eat are starchy, processed-y kind of
fatty
snacks. And I know when I'm really hungry enough, I'll go for that stuff. Now I feel worse afterwards. And then what do those things do? They're loaded with sodium. They cause a lot of water retention. And now you're full, to your point.
Yes.
But now you're sitting down for dinner, or the meal is coming and you're full, but you don't want to be rude and you don't want to insult whoever went to the effort or monetary effort to prepare this meal, so you're inclined to eat it, right? So you talked about a couple of that is a really important one, is don't starve yourself. In fact, I've also heard people say, other dietitians and other people in the space, to not only just eat like you normally would,
yes,
but also like drink a lot of water before you go for a big meal. Something that's going to make you a little more full, so you don't get in there and just kind of overeat during that time frame.
And or a higher protein
meal right.
We'll give you more satiety.
And I think everybody serves usually at some of these parties proteins. And I think it seems naturally, I think a lot of people are on kind of a healthier trend right now. So if it's not a Super Bowl watching party where it's just a bunch of trash usually being served, just because it's fun food until the next day. But most of these holiday meals have lovely proteins and vegetables and salads. So I think we got to flip that food pyramid upside down, right? And
go for the crudité.
Go for the crudité and get yourself filled up. So don't starve yourself. I like that. If you're, maybe eat a little bit smaller if you want to save yourself for a party, but we do tend to overeat when we
and get a plate.
Ourselves.
Don't stand by the. If you get a small plate, you get 2 pieces of cheese, a couple of asparagus. You get a cracker or 2. Then you can monitor how much you're getting, and you'll find that you'll be sated, especially if you're in a conversation and you're having a cocktail, you're having a glass of wine or a glass of champagne, and then once you have a little bit of that, it'll calm down the hunger so that you can wait a little bit.
Because doesn't hunger pains come in about a 20-minute cycle, right? So I read that once, and it was a great reminder. If I'm feeling really hungry, if I just go slower. Another thing too that Dr. Laval talks about all the time is how we don't chew our food long enough. And so if we'll just chew our food at least 30 chomps before we swallow, it's wild, because when you're aware of that and you pay attention, we're usually a chomp, 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 swallow, chomp, 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 swallow.
3 chomps.
3 chomps, and then that's it.
It's still a whole food.
And so now, the digestion process starts in the mouth. So don't starve yourself. Drink more water. You can, or fill up on, or have the vegetables or water-containing vegetables, things like that. And you said something else that I really thought was good, and that is, liquid calories are a big deal. And how can we, now I was never so happy years ago when I was doing a low carb diet or lifestyle, or just trying to I was probably trying to lose a couple of pounds for the summer or something. But I read that champagne only has 1.5 grams of carbs per serving. So it is technically... That's
why you see the celebrities drinking it.
Oh my gosh. I was so happy because I love champagne. I'm thinking a white wine, is a little sugary, a little sweeter. It has more carbs. But actual champagne, French champagne that's dry, is very naturally very low in sugar. So that is a great tip. And dry European wines are much lower in sugars. The American wines are much higher sugar content.
Plus no glyphosate.
Yeah. So if you don't want to worry about what wine might be serving at the dinner party, bring a bottle. Here, I brought a bottle. Would you like me to open it for you? So you can drink your own. I have no shame. I will do it. So I love that as a tip, because there's so many calories that we're getting in a lot of these holiday cocktails and things that we're not paying attention to.
Right. And, I'm thinking about that person that's going to ask the host, hey, what should I bring? Which is always a good thing to do anyways. I never go into somebody's home without asking and even if they say nothing, I still bring something.
Yep, right.
So they could bring a reasonably priced champagne. There's many of them. A homemade shrimp cocktail, a homemade crudité, even if it's small platters. And now you can control what you're eating. You're having protein and vegetables. You're having a little bit of champagne, and you're transferring that to the meal. Choose protein and vegetables. And look, think about it. You're having alcohol, you're having appetizers. Now you're going to sit down to a meal. You've got protein, probably 2 starches, a vegetable, and then the dessert.
And bread.
And a lot of people want the bread. And I think I would probably choose the bread over a starch, especially something that had marshmallows in it.
Sure.
But I think you have to rob Peter to pay Paul. You can't have it all. If you want to have it all, that's your choice.
You can have it all, but not if you don't want to gain 10 pounds from October 31st to January 2nd.
Right. You can really, and you can still enjoy yourself. You can still enjoy the pleasures of other people's food. And many people are good cooks, and they really roll it out for the holidays. But the idea would be is to really choose what your poison's going to be. I would rather have champagne and cheese than sweets.
Yeah, same.
But
we're savory people.
Yeah, savory.
Yeah,
or I would rather have a piece of crusty bread with butter on it, or some olives, or some prosciutto, than to eat pecan pie, for example.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So you talked about don't starve yourself. You talked about robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah.
That's so important too. What about this is always kind of we were talking about this, in between, shows, but what about when we're invited to family's house and you don't want to offend Aunt Sue because you're not eating her casserole,
like the tuna noodle casserole?
How do you get around that? Oh my goodness. That is, now in our house, I don't really have to worry about it much because everybody comes to my house, so I can control the narrative. And then I always tell people, listen, if you have to have your sweet potatoes with marshmallows and corn chips, you make them. Bring it.
Yeah.
But I won't be preparing that.
I'm usually doing the cooking too, and I control the narrative. I agree with you. I would say, I mean, if you're on a special diet, let's say you are gluten and dairy free, which a lot of people have to be for a number of reasons, autoimmunity, GI disturbances, what have you, you can politely tell the family member prior to coming that unfortunately I'm on a special diet and I'm
going to bring my own.
I'm going to bring my own. I won't be able to eat some of the things that you have, but I'm really appreciative of the invite. Is there something I can bring you?
Yeah.
And then that shows that you have some respect for the host, and you bring them a special bottle of champagne or something. So and let's say you want to bring a dessert that other people can share. I mean, there's lots of gluten and dairy free options for people for dessert if that's your choice, and certainly for savory food as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the other thing you said that nobody likes to hear is move your body. But I think if we just took walks, like
just a walk, even
a walk after dinner, or even during this is another tip that I had that I was thinking of before we started talking about this, is making an effort that all through those 2 months you're going to park in the furthest parking spot from the doors of any store that you're shopping in. And that's a great way to get extra steps in, and, those kinds of things. So there's little tweaks that we can make if we're just intentional about it, that I think will make a big difference. And then the other thing that came to mind that you mentioned was, we talked about it a little bit in the beginning, is just the things that cause water retention, which I think comes more from a lot of processed with sodium and, flavoring.
Crispy, crunchy foods. Potato chips, pretzels, Doritos. And I think people, I would hope, are less likely to have those things at a holiday because maybe they're
Mix,
more...
Are you kidding?
Oh, Chex Mix. Oh, that stuff is good, though. There's a gluten-free one. But
it satisfies our hedonistic urges.
I have my birthday coming up. I'm actually cooking for it, and I'm already planning. I'm going to have a cauliflower appetizer, an artichoke heart salad appetizer.
Okay, let's talk about that because this is a great transition to what another thing I want to talk about is what are things that we can make and that we can alter that are so good. I talked about this on another show when I was in California speaking at a conference. I discovered Erewhon.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And they had this buffalo cauliflower that my mouth's watering right now. Like, this is a Pavlov's dog reaction that I'm having. It was so good. And so they list their ingredients. And so I tried several ways and failed recreating it. But I finally figured out how to recreate it. And what they did was they took cauliflower florets fresh, toss them in olive oil, nutritional yeast. It's something I forget about.
It tastes like cheese.
It's savory, right?
Yeah.
Nutritional yeast, some spices, some cayenne pepper, and then they just tossed all that, and they baked it in the oven. I cooked it in the air fryer, and it was amazing. Like, I could sit there and eat the whole thing. And it's cauliflower with nutritional yeast, a little bit of olive oil, salt, pepper, seasonings, and it was so good. So what are some other ideas like that we can make these savory appetizers or side dishes for some of our holiday parties or family gatherings that maybe introduce our family to some healthier ways of
I've got
eating?
some great things up my sleeve. So going back to the cauliflower, so I make something similar to that, and I use some paprika, a little bit of chipotle powder, and olive oil, salt and pepper, and use it in the air fryer, or sometimes I'll just do it raw. And I'll actually lay the cauliflower out so it looks like a flower. It looks really great. I blanch asparagus, just almost the tips, maybe 3 minutes, 2.5 minutes, and I put them in a glass. And then I serve them with a yogurt dill, almost like a tzatziki sauce. I make a artichoke heart. So you can buy, you know how you buy artichoke hearts and they come with the leaves? Well, you can actually just buy the hearts.
Yep.
There's a company called Scalfini. I know I live in the East Coast, so I know we have that. But you can buy just those little hearts. And I use parsley, olive oil, red wine vinegar, garlic, crushed red pepper. It's absolutely delicious, and people love it. So those are my 3 sort of go-to.
Yeah, those are all very savory.
All very savory. I also do another one where I take little cherry tomatoes and a little bowl of very, very cold, chilled vodka, and then like a Bloody Mary, right? And a little Bloody Mary. What's that seasoning? Old Bay seasoning.
Oh, yeah.
And so it kind of tastes like a Bloody Mary. So you sort of dip the tomato in the vodka with a toothpick, and then dip it in the spice, and it's really tasty. People love that.
That's pretty fun.
And then deviled eggs with like avocado and the yolk mixed up with a little mustard, a little mayonnaise, some chive sprinkled on top, a little paprika, because 1 egg is going to satisfy you.
Sure, yeah,
and then the shrimp
filling.
Cocktail and the crudité. So those are all really good ideas to give you a change of pace. And people want the vegetables.
Yeah,
because they don't get them anywhere else. And if they do, they get them in their overcooked.
And I love, there's don't forget nutritional yeast. I can't tell you how, when people are making battered things but they don't want batter, the other thing they had in that was arrowroot as something
as a binder,
right? Instead of flour or cornstarch or something like that. So there's some cool alternative ways. So anything else that you want to share, a tip or a trick to not gain 10 pounds this holiday season?
Well, the more you sweat, the more you're going to release all of that pent up sodium. So if you don't have to spin for an hour and a half, but you could get into to do the sauna blanket, right? Or some people have saunas, but I have friends who have saunas and cold plunges and whirlpool. They've got it all, they've got the spa in their house, but the sauna blanket, sweat it out a little bit. Do something where you break a sweat. That's the most important. It's almost the time doesn't matter. It's that you've broken a sweat.
Yeah.
And drinking good water. We talked about mineral and spring water.
Do you like apple cider vinegar to help detox some of this, like get some of this excess fluid off?
If you're someone who's got SIBO and you don't know it, you can put the vinegars and the fermented foods into the gut, and it's not so good. So I'm not saying it's not a good thing.
For our audience, SIBO, small
intestinal bacterial overgrowth or small intestinal fungal overgrowth, where you just have a lot of bad bacteria, which they call dysbiotic bacteria. And then when you're having a lot of vinegar or wine, you're kind of feeding that. So that's where a low sugar thing might come in, like the champagne, and maybe using lemon instead of vinegars for that kind of thing.
Well, how would one know if they might have SIBO?
If you're having any kind of gas, bloating, intestinal discomfort, IBS type symptoms, fatigue, I would definitely seek out an alternative practitioner who could do either a stool test or can check for bacterial overgrowth, or typically with SIBO, it's a breath test. But there's definitely ways of discovering that.
And the breath test is sensing what?
It's sensing the off-gassing of bad bacteria.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. I think that's going to be really helpful.
We end the note on the bad bacteria.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, I feel like
dessert. I want to. Let's end on dessert, not bad breath bacteria.
So let's end on dessert. I think. It's not the time of year per se for berries and chocolate, but if you make a ganache, which is basically heavy cream, but you can do it with coconut milk and melted chocolate, and you can do it with bananas or organic berries. Strawberries aren't really in season in the wintertime. But pears, that's a great idea.
Orange
slices. You can sort of make a fruit crudité platter, not those things that they buy that are big that you get delivered to your door. That's like a big fruit basket. But fresh organic fruit, and you've made a nice warm chocolate sauce that you can heat up in the microwave, and that's an option.
Olive oil cake.
Olive oil cake. Oh, you know what I made recently was a Sicilian lemon cake and a Sicilian orange cake with a ton of zest. It was so delicious.
Yeah, and they're not very sweet.
Made with almond flour, really, really quite nice. And you only need a small little piece, so try that.
That's the key.
Yeah.
A small little piece. Get one dessert while you're eating out.
You should make a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Just one small
bite. Just a bite. All right. Thanks a lot, as always. It's a lot of fun, and I always learn something from you. So thanks for being here.
Thanks, Terri.